Jonathan Gresham versus Jay Lethal for the Ring of Honor Pure Championship has been a long time coming. One can say it was destiny that this match was going to happen on the 500th episode of ROH Wrestling. This match was chosen by fans in the Choose Your Honor Facebook group to happen at this monumental show with the ROH Board of Directors' approval by popular demand. The meeting between the foundational pillars of the Pure Wrestling Revival and Ring of Honor can be seen not only as a match for the supremacy that the Pure Championship brings, but for the symbolic moniker that Jay Lethal has held for years of the franchise. When these two meet under Pure rules, they ply a craft that they share as the men who started Pure Wrestling Supergroup, and to get to the bottom of the stylistic similarities between Gresham and Lethal, we have to break this match down to its foundation. Ahead of the 500th episode of ROH Wrestling, this is Jonathan Gresham versus Jay Lethal by the numbers. Unlike Jonathan Gresham's first 3 title defenses against Flip Gordon, Joe Keys, and Dak Draper, Jay Lethal does not present a style discrepancy as he vies for the Pure Championship, but instead he presents something entirely new: familiarity. This isn't a battle for Ring of Honor's identity or to defend the sanctity of the Pure division, but on the surface, this match reads as an exhibition match between two wrestlers on entirely different points of the same timeline. When it comes to Jonathan Gresham, his proficiency under the Pure rules is unrivaled. He enters the 500th episode as the Pure Champion, holding the highest win percentage, the second most rope breaks forced, the second most rope breaks used, the longest average match time, wins in the number 1 and number 2 longest matches, a win in the number 5 shortest match, and a perfect 7-0 record in singles matches under Pure rules. His approach to Pure Wrestling is one that almost courts hardship rather than looking to cruise to easy, dominant wins. Jonathan Gresham's skill set has historically thrived in the thick of action. His powerful strikes, creative transitions, and devastating submissions are at their best when the action is moving and his opponent has less time to think, but instead has to constantly react, which has led to Jonathan Gresham picking up numerous opportunistic finishes that are picked up in an exchange that he created. If you were analyzing this match purely by the numbers, you would look at Jonathan Gresham's 15 rope break used, good for the second highest in divisional history, as well as his -3 rope break differential, meaning that he has used 3 more rope breaks than he's forced. And you would think that this is a potential path to exploit against him, but you would only be half right. Once again, if you look at the matches with Flip Gordon, Joe Keys, and Dak Draper, Gresham's 3 title defenses, and matches where he used all 3 of his allotted rope breaks, they all rang entirely differently. Flip Gordon used all 3 of his own rope breaks in the opening minutes of the match, only forcing Gresham to burn his when Gresham's knee got injured and Flip began to target it to work his way back into the match. Dak Draper, meanwhile, was the complete opposite, forcing Jonathan Gresham to use 3 rope breaks before Draper had to use 1 in order to escape Draper's power submission game. The smartest of the 3 was Joe Keys, who used flashes of opportunity to force Gresham's hand, wrapping Gresham in the ropes early and forcing him to use the other 2 rope breaks in quick succession following an opportunistic offensive blitz. Despite Jonathan Gresham's high rope break usage stat, which is the trait shared by all members of the Foundation, he is still fully capable of winning matches wide, tying Dak Draper for the longest match streak of using 0 rope breaks with 2, and being the first wrestlers to win a match where neither wrestler forces or uses a rope break against Matt Sydal. Gresham's liberal usage of the rope break comes as not a sign of weakness or admitting that you are unable to escape the hold, but as a tactical tool to reset the match in the middle of the ring and not take unnecessary damage. As in all of Jonathan Gresham's bouts under Pure rules, his X factor is his versatility. Jonathan Gresham has never finished a match under Pure rules in the same way, and has a scant few signature moves in his repertoire that prospective opponents can plan around. He's won matches by referee stoppage, submission, pinfall, all in increasingly unique ways. And this combined with his exchange-heavy style makes him borderline impossible to deal with for someone who isn't deeply ingrained in the Pure Wrestling style. You aren't going to get an outsider in Flip Gordon or Dak Draper, or a puppy in Joe Keys, to upset Jonathan Gresham for the Pure Championship. It's going to have to be someone who can meet Gresham on his terms and potentially outwork him down the stretch. If there's someone who is up to that task, it could very well be Jay Lethal. By the numbers, Jay Lethal reads as a middling wrestler under the Pure rules. Since the revival of the rule set, he has the 6th best winning percentage. He's forced the 5th most rope breaks while using the 3rd most. He has a negative rope break differential that, while not as pronounced as Jonathan Gresham's -3, still comes in the bottom half of the division with -1. 6th best winning percentage casts a middling light when it's read out, which can be misleading, but Jay Lethal enters the bout with Jonathan Gresham 3-3 under Pure Rules since the return of the rule set, but these numbers only give a slight glimpse into what Jay Lethal brings into the match with Gresham. Jay Lethal's style of wrestling under Pure Rules is essentially his style under the regular rules. The man has cultivated an identity built around being the centerpiece of one of the most historically prestigious wrestling companies on the planet, and the pride he has as the franchise lends itself well to his approach under Pure Rules. Lethal's style has clearly inspired Gresham's, as Lethal has displayed a fondness for meeting his opponents on equal footing and allowing his experience to win out in exchanges, most notably meeting Josh Woods and Dalton Castle, accomplished amateur wrestlers, in the clinch fighting for position, and met Tracy Williams hold for hold in submission wrestling. Jay Lethal has a bit of an ego that borders on arrogance, always wanting to let his opponents know how far behind they are, which Jonathan Gresham has displayed a fondness for. Jay Lethal is adept at targeting the limbs of his opponents, picking apart Tracy Williams' shoulder and Dalton Castle's legs. Jonathan Gresham has displayed the same skill, tearing Dak Draper's legs from underneath him and completely destroying Flip Gordon's shoulder. The difference between Lethal and Gresham, besides results, is Jay Lethal's double-edged X factor, his experience. Jay Lethal has been a stalwart in professional wrestling for 2 decades. His ability is legendary, as is his skill set. And all of Jonathan Gresham's experience of holds combined doesn't hold the water it might against wrestlers that don't have Jay Lethal's reps. But Lethal's experience has consistently gotten him into trouble under Pure Rules. Jonathan Gresham's versatility that allows him to create constant movement and frantic exchanges may have been influenced by Lethal. The fluid nature of his style makes it almost impossible to counter because he's never going to throw the same thing at you twice, because everything that Gresham does is situational. Jay Lethal, meanwhile, has been able to be studied, and while his skill set adapts to pure wrestling very well, it's also able to be prepared for and is able to be countered. Jay Lethal's match with LSG on ROH TV is a tribute to this. Lethal goes for moves that he has built his style around: the cartwheel drop kick, the repeated suicide dives, the lethal injection, and they are all countered for the first half of the match, which led to Lethal struggling to get a foothold in early against a much less experienced wrestler. Dalton Castle was able to roll Lethal up for a near fall when Lethal went for his figure 4 leg lock. Tracy Williams countered the lethal injection with a rear naked choke that ultimately led to Tracy Williams' victory. Jay Lethal is a master of his craft, but it's a craft that has been studied and adapted by Jonathan Gresham to amazing results. The last major factor in this match also comes from Jay Lethal's experience level, both inside and outside of the Pure Rules. Where Jonathan Gresham has the highest average match length in the division, this is mostly anchored by his 2 matches with Flip Gordon and Dak Draper, which occupy the number 1 and number 2 longest matches in the division respectively. Against Flip and Draper, Jonathan Gresham was able to endure the hard times and win the matches when it went from the wrestling ring to the trenches. When his back was against the wall, the dog in Jonathan Gresham was able to come out, and he was able to dig deep into a bag that neither Flip nor Draper had the knowledge to counter. Jay Lethal may sit at the 4th longest average match length, but number 2 and number 3 are Flip Gordon and Dak Draper, meaning that Jay Lethal is the only natural member of this match length top 4 to not have his placement influenced by Gresham's epics on ROH pay-per-views. Jay Lethal's matches under Pure Rules have never run shorter than 13 minutes. And in an environment where he has almost always competed in matches with a 15-minute time limit, Jay Lethal is always cutting it close. In short, Jay Lethal lives in the trenches. Flip Gordon had 1 match under Pure Rules before challenging Jonathan Gresham. Then the shortest match in divisional history against Josh Woods at 9 minutes and 34 seconds. Jonathan Gresham took him 24.5. Dak Draper had the shortest average match time in pure division history, winning the shortest match ever at 8 minutes and 23 seconds. Jonathan Gresham took him to 20.5 minutes. These high-end matches are won in the trenches, and Jay Lethal has been in his fair share of wars, participating in the number 3, number 4, and number 5 longest matches in pure division history, going 2-1 in those matches. He stands as one of the only wrestlers to ever win by a decision, a 15-minute battle with LSG. Jay Lethal has had 60-minute epics for the World Championship against Roderick Strong and Matt Taven, and he won a 30-minute Iron Man match against Jonathan Gresham in 2018, so believe me when I tell you that you can't simply look at 3 wins, 3 losses, and a -1 rope break differential to get the entire story with Jay Lethal as he steps in to face the pure champion Jonathan Gresham. Every number has a story, and as we enter the 500th episode of Ring of Honor Television, the story of pure wrestling, the story of the foundation, The story of Jonathan Gresham versus Jay Lethal has another chapter written.
Best of the Planet, ROH's 24-hour streaming channel, is celebrating the 500th episode of ROH TV with an exclusive 2-hour special presentation on Thursday, April 15th. Relive the top moments in ROH TV, beginning with the very first TV main event. Then, for the first time ever, watch the free premiere of ROH TV's 500th episode, streaming Thursday, April 15th, starting at 6 p.m. only on Best on the Planet. Find the Best on the Planet streaming channel on Stir and Plex, or go to ROHWrestling.com for more info.
Metalhead Maniac Sledge here, and I'm here to show you guys how to download Ring of Honor's Best on the Planet 24/7 streaming service on the Plex and Stir app. I'm going to use the Plex app and get you guys ready for the 500th episode that airs April 15th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I have my LG Smart TV right behind me, and I'm just going to go ahead and go straight to the search engine. Go ahead and press search. All the way to the top right up here, we're going to go into the titles, and we're going to type in Plex, P-L-E-X. I already have it downloaded. And we're going to go ahead and click on it. Bang. And then we're going to search for ROH's Best on the Planet, which is going to come up right now. Bang. Just like that. ROH's Best on the Planet. And here it is. 24/7 Ring of Honor television. And this is where the 500th episode is going to air on Thursday, April 15th. It's just that easy. Download the Plex app. It's free. Do it now.